all the files and then move them into where you want. All right, there we go. All right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Izzy, and I'm a musician, and I build electronics from a day job.
All right, cool beans. Izzy's back here for another podcast. She was on a couple months ago, and we're recording this on April 20th. And you understand we're recording this podcast, and we're going to put it on YouTube and maybe somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
All right, perfect. You want to get right up into that microphone. It helps me to get some good audio right away for sure. All right, so we're in the middle of self-isolation now, month 2. How you been taking things?
For the first couple of weeks, I was having some pretty bad breakdowns, but last week, no breakdowns at all. Just I've learned if I do something nerdy instead of intellectual, if that makes any sense. I instead of playing music that makes sense, or even playing to a big empty room, just to stay holed up in my basement and program my pedal board and just make noise and ambient stuff and actually learn what my pedal board does. It's quite the hell of a synthesizer, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually been playing with with my bass and the effects on GarageBand to do some different intro music and stuff as well. Just trying to stay busy. I made sure I set into a good routine of like getting exercise and stuff to try to stave off like some anticipatory anxiety and stuff. We're looking at I guess I've been closed for 4 weeks now.
Yeah, most of my friends are out of work. Me and my wife, we're both in essential jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Her work gave her the option of taking 2 weeks off if she's feeling like crap, though. So we managed to hold it out long enough for peak allergy season. So she's taking her 2 weeks now.
Nice.
So she has 2 weeks to catch her mind again because she's been working overtime, and our hours have been cut back occasionally. Like we only worked 32 hours last week and the week before because our customers are all in different states, and some of them are not considered essential, so we're down to about half our customers. So
I don't know what the heck we're gonna do. We were looking at actually doing a merger with another hospitality company and moving locations kind of before this started. We were kind of planning on applying that this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the heck we're gonna do now. We got a little bit of that PPP loan, but like I said, boy, without people going out, especially like we were very much tied to BIR,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still just not sure what the heck we're gonna do here. Our lease is coming due, and like I said, we were looking at different locations and stuff, and I don't know, we'll explore those conversations again with those people, see if we can operate like a catering business outside of one of their existing kitchens or something, doing meal delivery,
Mm-hmm.
or something. It's just kind of like, what do you do at this point, you just, right now we're literally just at that place of like trying to explore different business options, what else we can do, sort of without a location.
Yeah, well, and with the arts too, with the regulatory agencies, they're already getting ridiculous with that, and now who knows? With people being so bored out of their gourd now, they're people are gonna think they're good, and then there's gonna be people hiring those shit musicians that for nothing, and
Yeah, I mean, this, that was one of the first things that was definitely hit was like concert venues was one of the first things that was, concert venues, movie theaters. Those are some of the first places that were shut down, and those are probably going to be some of the last places that are going to be able to reopen.
yeah, some of my full-time musician friends, they have some gigs scheduled to come back in between 5 months and a year out from now.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, that's rough,
so
man.
so they have to figure out what to do until then.
Yeah, and all that supporting staff too,
Mhm.
of the venues and everything. Like, man, I'm gonna think about like the state fair. I mean, there's some people who
Renaissance Festival.
Yeah, there's some vendors who basically work, 6 to 12, weeks out of the year, and they make, maybe after taxes they make the same as everybody else. They make that, $50,000 or so to pay their bills and take care of their family, and who knows if they're going to get any of those weeks in this year.
Yeah, I mean, when your whole income is based on 3 weeks out of the year, and that's there's a lot of rennies that and a lot of fair vendors, and
Yeah.
they make most of their income out of that 3 weeks.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, that's a scary prospect to be there. Like, even if things are open, are people going to be comfortable going to those things?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess, as somebody who's been, whose business was so immediately affected by those things, it feels like, it's going to require a lot of encouragement from politicians and the media to tell people it's safe to go out.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there was a lot of, it's been a month now of not leave your house, and people are saying, my God, can we leave our house? And we're still not given a green light,
No,
yeah.
And I said from the start, it's as a whole, Americans are pretty stupid.
Oh yeah.
They find anything to riot for. We haven't had a riot yet, but we're having the precursors to them right now.
Yeah.
All it's gonna take is somebody stupid, and there's gonna be riots.
Yeah, and oh man, it was to see the protesters, some of the pictures of the protests in Michigan, holding Trump pen signs and even like swastikas and stuff. It's like, oh my God, really? Like, can we just make this a single issue of, can we turn the economy back on? Do we really have to make it into a political thing? That was gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Disappointing,
Yeah. Look at our history. That's what we've always done. It's just stupid.
Yeah. But and yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised to see that some of those people are out there, but yeah, I don't know. I just I don't know. Yeah. I guess I'm confused why anybody would want to just go to that point. Like, why isn't this just a turn the economy back on thing? Like, it's a Michigan protest of let us buy seeds and go fishing. Why in the world are you ever going to bring your freaking... Yeah. Anyways.
I don't... even if this pandemic was 10 times worse, I don't see any problem with fishing because you're on a lake.
Yeah. Like, Yeah, I mean the fact that they and then they're like, and in Minnesota, like they say, okay, well, it's okay to go fishing, but it has to be just with the people you met with or you live with, and yada yada yada. And it's like, well, we understand how social distancing already works. You don't have to re-explain it to allow us to go fishing on a boat.
Most of the personalities that do that did it without being told. Now they're just being pissed because now they're being told.
Yeah. I mean, either people are gonna do it or they aren't. But yeah, to go to these levels of saying you can't buy seeds, you can use a kayak or a canoe, but not a motorized boat. Like, I mean, it's really easy to point at something and say it's tyrannical when it's so obviously tyrannical. You're just giving the extreme right fuel. I mean, is what you're doing. It's not an effective measure. It's legitimately scary to me that people in Michigan can't buy seeds. Yeah.
Yeah, when you can't go out, but if you can't go out, you need a garden. If you can't garden, how are you going to garden if you don't have seeds? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. I mean, it just reeks of like, well, don't allow these people who are truly scared of how much income they're going to have and have now to grow a garden. Mm-hmm. That's what, like, God forbid that to happen. That's just as a peripheral, sorry to sound conspiratorial, but it reeks of like, well, let's ensure that these people are further dependent on us to give them more money and not allow them to grow food. Yeah. Like I said, I hate to sound conspiratorial, but yeah, that's what I get out of it. But anyways, my girlfriend's still working, so it is what it is. It's real interesting those too. Is that it's like, well, even if you're self-isolating, like, well, somebody's, probably making money at work, or we still have to go grocery shopping. We can't completely isolate ourselves. So, I don't know.
Well, at least you got your bass amp in time.
right. Yeah, I literally got it like the last day before the bridge was like closing.
Yeah, I was so glad to read that too, that you got your amp.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm gonna take my last $20 and buy that bass amp. Oh my god, the last chance I got. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, and yeah. Huh. I was at the bread store today, and a lady was like, are you open? What are you doing? And I'm like, nah, like, we closed, we started doing the to-go stuff, for like a week, it just wasn't really worth it, especially like suddenly school was out. Mm-hmm. So I had to be here to take care of, my stepkids. So like now my regular hours, I can't be at the cafe. So like now it's suddenly like, oh, pick up stuff for dinner, so it's like a radical change overnight, big surprise. It, didn't have a lot of steam behind it. Plus, that was like the first week of like fear, don't leave your house. But I was expecting after like a couple weeks for things to be much calmer. People be like, okay, wow, okay, this, we can open businesses back up,
Well,
here's some small business loans for those people that closed down, and for it to blow over much quicker. The fact that we're a month in and we're still not sure if, what businesses can be open or not.
Yeah, the Monday of that week was the worst for me because I had no idea what was going to happen. There's a fear of the unknown and there's a phobia of the unknown, and I've got a freaking phobia, and when that hits, it hits like a freight train, and that Monday I just broke down and bawled and just could not stop.
Yeah.
Just Yeah, it's like, what's wrong? It's like, what isn't? I literally couldn't pin it down because all my friends were, and this was on the Monday before they closed everything down on Wednesday, and before they even announced it, it's like, all my friends are gonna be losing their jobs. I don't know what's happening with mine.
Mm-hmm.
That week was the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like the lady at the bread store is like, oh, she's like, what, are you gonna reopen again? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I said even if we open back up right now, like people are basically afraid to leave their houses. Like, so, like I feel like I need to, redesign my entire. And again, I can't open back up tomorrow with the same hours I had.
No.
That I suddenly have to be here with the kids all the time, so breakfast and lunch and being home for dinner doesn't work anymore.
And I can guarantee tighter regulatory restrictions are going to come out of this for all the service industries.
Oh, yeah. The capacity of places are going to be cut for
the
sure.
The capacities are going to be cut. Like in Singapore and several other cities and countries, if you're working with food at all, you're in gloves and face mask, period.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm pretty sure that'll become a new standard. I won't doubt it at all.
Yeah.
And same thing with hairdressers. You see that in Japan and in China, and just standard procedure. They're wearing face masks and gloves, just part of their job.
Yeah.
No matter what the conditions are.
Yeah. Yeah, those are much more crowded populations, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but how the feds do things, they
yep, yeah.
They always,
but yeah, and where are we seeing the worst spread is in New York? Probably arguably where it's most crowded.
It's the densest part of the whole country.
Yep.
I mean, L.A. has just as many people, but spread over
a much larger
more miles.
Yeah.
And New York City stacked on top of each other and below each other.
Yeah.
What people forget, I mean, New York City is 8-9 million people above ground that we know about, and then there's the homeless people above ground, and then there's the 4 million or so below ground that nobody ever talks about because they're living off grid, using the grid tapped into it.
Yeah. I saw a documentary. I think it might have been on Netflix about there's a whole group of people or maybe it was on Vice online.
Yeah,
on YouTube.
There's a whole subterranean culture.
There was basically a small community underneath Vegas in these abandoned tunnels. But yeah, there was like between 100 and 300 people down there. They estimated of.
Yeah, and that's Vegas. That's a small city.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I saw was in New York City, and there's several million doing that underneath of that city. Yeah, and there's 10 layers of underground in that city.
Really?
So because they started easy and started at the top, and then most of those flooded because it's all wetlands.
Yeah,
and then so the next layer came down and down and. The newest layer going in is in the bedrock, several hundred feet below the surface. And
so the top one floods and then they go deeper.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, the original gas lines and sewer lines.
Yeah.
And electric and.
I know they've got a lot of abandoned.
And then
subway tunnel,
and then the original subway tunnels. They were all in that first layer.
Okay.
It just barely went under the water. And so, that first layer is probably flooded more times than it isn't.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah.
It's pretty cool looking at a subterranean cross section of New York City.
Yeah.
it's all catacombs. It's all holes and tunnels.
Yeah, it's a really old city. It's got it. I saw this one great documentary about how important oysters were. is- we know about all the people landing on Easter Island, or not on Easter Island, on Ellis Island. And all these immigrants flooding New York. But what you don't like, how the heck did these people survive? And it turns out that there's the oysters were just everywhere in the bay, and they're so nutrient rich and protein rich. Like it was super easy to just go out and forage for oysters, and you could. And
that was before they're also great filters, and they suck in all the contaminants too. So that was before they got so polluted so bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was exactly before there was a lot of pollution for them to suck up. But yeah, like so it was. I'd imagine just say like just going be able to go out and forage for mushrooms or whatever and be able to eat your dinner. Made it very easy. It was literally like the land of
Well, you've got the oysters, you've got the mussels, you've got the clams, you've got the barnacles.
Lobsters.
I mean, all those things they all suck up, and they eat algae and they eat pollutants and
yep, zooplankton and they're great filters for sure. Yeah, you don't want to eat them all the time. You get a lot of mercury in your blood. But yeah, sardines too. Like, oh yeah.
Well, I grew up in San Diego, and we were told not to eat the fish. We did anyway.
Yeah. There's definitely some.
We always had a freezer full of mackerel and bonito because those things were stupid easy to catch.
Yeah.
I mean, hold a hook above the water. The things are so stupid.
Nice. Yeah, man. I miss when there was so many keeper sunnies. Like, I don't know if they just didn't have a tight enough keep limit on them or what, But man, I remember when I was a kid, we would go out with like me and my brothers and my grandpa.
They were unlimited for so long.
Was it? Well, I think the limit was. I think the God, it might have been unlimited when I was a kid.
Statewide is unlimited. It's
not anymore. Now it's 30.
In the 90s it was still unlimited.
I think you're right. Yeah,
and except for certain lakes.
Yeah,
but every year they add more exceptions to that, and before you know, it's going to be every single lake has their own rules. But
I think the catch limit is 30 right now on sunfish. I don't know. I just got my license today. I should look.
That's been, been like 15 years the last time I picked up fishing pole.
Okay. Oh, really? But yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, like me and my grandpa and my brothers could fill a couple of 5-gallon buckets with good sized sunfish, and now it's like, man, maybe 1 out of every 10 is a keeper. So many of them are small.
They've been overfished.
Yeah, now there's such a stunted population.
They need that limit to make them grow again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It definitely seemed like something happened and they got mismanaged and it's a lot of stunted sunfish populations, it seems. But I don't know. Back in the good old days.
And the crappie too. And
the big crappie. Yep.
Size of bass.
Yep. Yep. It was no problem. Yeah, it was rare to catch a small crappie, it seemed. It was just like you were just always hammering big crappies, and now it's like same thing, maybe 1 out of 6 is a keeper. Still a lot of small ones, a lot of, man. Yeah. Anyways, the whole world's changing. Can't even. Yeah, I remember complaining about the sunfish not being there 20 years ago like they used to be. It seemed like there was a sudden crash, and they still haven't developed a solution for it. I don't know if the DNR is looking for a solution to it. I never hear them talking about stunted panfish populations.
I don't think they're too
dude, walleye and mille lacs. That's their concern.
Yep. The game fish, and of course the walleye, and I it's the state's fetish on walleye
Yeah.
is just insane. There are so many other good tasting fish.
Yeah.
Bass are awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Crappie is the best tasting fish
yeah,
there is.
Bass and crappie, they're both in the same league.
Yeah.
But how walleye? I've never caught a walleye in my life.
I mean, the amount of effort it takes to catch a walleye, like they're just inherently lazy. Like you have to slow down so they can catch up. Like they're so finicky, and I don't think they're any better than any other, fish. It's not spectacular. If you've ever had like red snapper or mahi or halibut or some sort of like,
Yeah,
there's some fish that are definitely above,
those
Copper River salmon. There is some fish that are definitely a step above. But walleye is not one of those. Walleye is just another fish out of the lake. And you're absolutely right. The fetish of not only the DNR but the fishing population of the state is
and it's been talked about of, well, let's try to change this culture, but you have to start it in the restaurants and start it in the state promotions and start it in it's a huge advertising effort to get the culture to shift.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We should. So one of the reasons, we basically, the thirst for Minnesotans to go out and catch walleye and eat walleye has resulted in a collapse in Canadian fisheries of walleye.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely. Why don't we change that culture from the top down? Of like, why don't we become like the sunfish paradise? Why aren't they stocking tiny little lakes with tons and tons of sunfish? Why can't we have sunfish on the menu instead of walleye, which are going to be way easier to raise in a pond?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a generation, that culture can be changed. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So get on it, Walls. Jeez. See, here we are solving the world's problems.
Does he have the balls? The walls with the balls.
I don't know, man. I tell you, he might have some issues with the next election. He's got a lot of people that are not happy with him. So I don't think we've had a Republican governor since Arnie Carlson, have we?
I don't know. I never followed this state because I was in the Marines when Ventura was in office, and I had no idea who he was, and people were like, who your governor is? It's like, who? It's like, I was 18, didn't give a shit.
Really? Oh man, I was,
and I'd only been in Minnesota for for 2 years at that time.
Sure.
So it's like I didn't vote for the guy. I didn't know.
See, and I had not been a fan of the two parties since far before I could vote. And Ventura. So my birthday is November 16th. So it was like literally like just shy of 2 weeks, or right around 2 weeks. But the election was like 2 weeks before my 18th birthday. And Ventura, so here I'd been like, I haven't even been able to vote, and I'm excited for third parties, and then Ventura wins like before I can vote. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is the end of the two-party system. Yep. So that was 1999, and I'm still hoping for another victory at some point by another third party of any third party.
At any given time, there's usually 2 or 3 people and a third party to sit on any of the there's like, say there's 50 of one, there's going to be one of the independent. And it's just it's always But I think 3 or 4 parties is workable.
Oh,
Two parties is too little. But then when you have 10 or 15 parties, that's where you can see that not working in other countries around the world.
Yeah.
That's where they split off they actually revert back to tribalism.
Yeah.
So you don't want more than 4 practical parties, but you don't. This 2-party system is bullshit too.
Yeah. Yeah, in the UK and in a lot of European countries, they have got, they don't have, they sort of have, generally they've got about 4 parties.
Yeah, we have like 20 registered parties or so.
Yeah, well, I should say they've got about 4 parties that will have control, and they'll kind of rotate around in popularity. Like they'll do something and become unpopular, and then another party will sort of come into power and they'll get the majority, and they'll do something unpopular, and then some other party will come into favor.
Yeah,
so it's sort of a rotating thing instead of sort of this binary switching back and forth.
At least they typically change their names though. What's odd about the Republicans and the Democrats? They flip-flopped from what they used to be.
Well,
the Republicans used to be the liberals, and the Democrats used to be the conservatives.
Yeah,
when you go back to Lincoln's day,
I take issue with the term flip flopped, because I think what's really happened is they've more evolved. I don't think because they didn't at some point like switch platforms. It's been sort of this gradual evolution. But yeah, I mean, the Republicans, it was one party, and the Republicans left because they were opposed to slavery. They wanted to end slavery, and the Democrats didn't. And then that sort of continued racism with the Democrats continued easily into the 30s, 40s. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they were approaching, FDR had a lot of, had a lot of hodgepodge of things. He just sort of grabbed whatever he thought was going to work over his 20 years in office. But he definitely, dabbled in socialism a lot, or at least in social programs, But at the same time, he appointed Hugo Black to the Supreme Court, and he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan, and then you have sort of Goldwater in the 60s. Like he called himself a conservative, but if you look at his policies now, they'd be like libertarian, So yeah, you could easily label him as like a liberal 60s Republican, which sounds so strange. So I don't think they've really flipped, as I think they've sort of evolved over a long period of time, and if you take a look at any sort of snapshot in time, there's no point where any of their policies are completely reversed from one another than what they are now, if that makes sense. So I agree to a degree.
I'd have to ask my wife on that one. She majored in that stuff. She's poli-sci major.
Oh my, yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, we could riff on politics forever, the two of us, then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of I guess I've been interested in politics since I was a kid.
Yeah, she majored in poli-sci and minored in economics.
Yeah, I'm like amateur political analyst is what I like to call myself. But yeah. Anywho, enjoying your self-isolation, or getting tired of it?
Getting tired of not seeing anybody outside of work and home, and the random Menards every now and then. Big and now for the next 2 weeks, since Sarah has it comes with strings that since Sarah has those 2 weeks off. The strings are she's not allowed in Menards for those 2 weeks. Yeah. So, but there's nothing saying that I can't go in there.
Right.
And Menards now has a 325 person limit.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So, about a third of their typical capacity, because people weren't keeping apart, and the they banned at least temporarily. I don't know. If they do permanent bans, but they also do temporary bans. But they banned a customer because my wife was having an asthma attack because there was a smoker that she was talking to, and then this other guy comes up and makes a big deal out of it, thinking she's sick. And then he starts spraying stuff at her, and that made her asthma go worse. She couldn't take a breath. She kept trying to reach in her pocket to get to her. So that's why she's taking this 2 weeks now. But
yeah.
It's people like that is why they had to cut down the amount of people allowed in.
The paranoia, like I said, it's getting and that's what it goes back to what I was saying earlier about it, like how man, how you gotta restaurants are gonna their capacity is gonna be different.
I mean, if she couldn't get to her inhaler, she would have literally died. From not being able to breathe because of that asshole.
Paranoia, man. I don't know. I don't actually absorb any media straight up. I digest podcasts that do breakdowns of the media. 'Cause it's like when you're on for 24 hours straight and there's several of you obviously are sensationalizing things a lot, and, So I love the No Agenda. I like a lot. They just like they find, and sometimes they're just like making fun of like people flubbing their words and stuff, But yeah, they tend to they'll find those those little clips that don't get a lot of attention, they pick those out, like I love that, like the stuff at the, on page 6 of the newspaper, that really important thing, that big piece of legislation that's going through or whatever, or there'll be some piece on at the end of the broadcast that again they spend like 30 seconds on and they just kind of gloss over it really quick, and you're like, wait a second, it seems like I should know more about that, but they never visit it again and you just forget about it. They pick those out and they're like, ding, ding, ding. here's this thing that you probably missed that you should pay attention to, So yeah, I like that a lot, because, anything really important you're going to hear about, I mean, obviously, I don't need, every time I turn on the news, it's just like I can feel the flood of propaganda waves, like sunshine hitting my face. It's just like, oh my God, like I can feel how like you have this narrative. It's not just the news, it's your opinion of the news, and it's bright like sunshine. Yep. That's what I feel when I watch the news.
We rarely watch the news. We watch it just enough, and when we do, it's BBC or PBS. Every now and then we accidentally get caught on one of the other ones, but
yeah, and I'll listen to NPR in the car.
I have mine tuned to jazz station all the time.
Yeah, sometimes
my $15 a month is worth it.
Yeah, but sometimes it'll get too much, and then I'll just like pop on a podcast. Like, yeah, man. I would love to pretend that NPR is a non-bias source, but
every news source has a bias.
Absolutely,
and so
yeah.
I know many British people that listen to our PBS because for their news, for the same reason I listen to BBC for our news, because they have no reason to form a bias.
Yep.
So they're reporting it as they see it.
Yep.
From their perspective, which doesn't have any political party trying to back them on it.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. That the BBC is going to be unbiased towards America, but not unbiased towards Britain.
Yeah.
PBS is going to be unbiased towards international affairs. Probably. Typically. But they're not going to be unbiased on American affairs. Canadian Broadcasting Company, same thing,
Mm-hmm.
like there's always a party that wants to give them more money and always a party that doesn't want to give them more money.
Well,
So,
and I have
like,
friends in Australia too, and they know their news is being
yeah,
spoon fed to them, and
Operation Mockingbird, man.
so they're looking to international news to
Yeah.
find out what's going on in their own backyard.
Yeah, I mean,
And there's stuff that they've posted about what's going on in our backyard that never shows up in our news too.
yeah.
That it's just nuts.
Yeah, it is. It is weird. It seems like the really important stuff doesn't get focused on where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like let's focus more on the superficial stuff. We can sensationalize this stuff. The stuff that's really important, it's not as interesting. It's gonna require a lot of investigation, journalism, and a lot of breakdown with experts, and we just
Yeah,
it's not as clickbait,
I wish I still had satellite because they had Vice TV on satellite.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then I get on it online too, but Vice is really cool. I love that.
Yeah, they do some. I watch them on YouTube. They put up some really interesting documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
I watched this one about these North Korean logging camps inside Russia. And so it was like 6 parts long, and I think each part was like 20 minutes. So it was like about an hour, but it was worth it. It was really interesting. They start in South Korea.
Yeah.
And so
I've got a tiny little screen to watch that stuff on.
Yeah. Oh, but doesn't it connect to your smart TV?
I don't have a smart TV.
Oh, really?
And we don't have reliable enough internet at home to stream anything.
Man, get a tablet at least. But it was really interesting. But yeah, it's these logging camps like in super remote Russia. They had to take train after train to get like way in remote Russia. And then they had Korean flags and Korean writing on the buildings and all these Korean loggers like just there to make some money for North Korea. Like,
yeah, and that, and that's still the interesting part about Korea. We call it North Korea and South Korea. They're still technically Korea because they've never ended their war.
Well, I think, but South Korea declared their independence.
Well, it's one of those.
Well, we're still
stupid.
Well,
gray
the United States is still definitely at war with North Korea.
Yeah, the DMZ is still an active war zone.
Yep.
And it is actually, it's still Korea, but North Korea and South Korea are not like North Carolina and South Carolina. They're not solid technical borders. They're yes, they have two vastly different governments, but with no official written declaration of end of war, it's still technically one country. It's really read about it. It's really really weird.
That is weird.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
I do a terrible job of explaining it, but if read it for yourself, it's really really an interesting read.
Huh. Well, yeah. Was it South Korea or North Korea that declared their independence from the other one?
South Korea declared it from the North because North invaded the South.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and then America came to the
rescue.
rescue.
And intervened. And,
and
and that's where the DMZ was established.
I would say North Korea definitely agrees with your point of view.
That DMZ is just north of Seoul. Seoul is so close to North Korea, and and Seoul is the highest populated part of South Korea.
Well, that's a very strategic reason. They wanted to make sure that the biggest, most vibrant city was within eyesight of the border. They wanted to, North Korea actually has a fake city just over the border, and it's a fake city. There's nobody there. Like when defectors get there, there's nothing there. But yeah, that was very strategic on South Korea's part. Where we're like, we need to pour more and more money into Seoul. That has got to be the hub of this nation, so that people in North Korea can look over the border and see how good we're doing. They can see the town lit up. Yeah.
Yeah, and did you know that the South Koreans are they're probably the most vain culture in the world. They encourage plastic surgeries at 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a rite of passage to get your first plastic surgery at 16.
The Japanese are pretty vain in that sense too. They're like that too. They're pretty weird about that kind of
and if you don't have perfect clothes, you're a bum. It's like 80s America times 1,000.
Yeah,
it's just nuts.
Yeah. There's a whole culture of the company man,
and it's run by Samsung. I mean, Samsung owns Korea.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We only get some of their products here, but they are Acme there. They make everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the technical hub of the world. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can buy a Samsung car.
Oh really?
Yeah. Not just Hyundai and Kia. Hyundai and Kia are the export brands, but you can get a Samsung branded car in Korea.
That's crazy. Wow. Wow. To link to your Samsung phone.
On your Samsung phone, watching your Samsung TV with your a Samsung radio and your and that's just the electronic side, but they also have food and they have they Acme, quite literally everything. They own that country.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. Yeah.
We're fixated on their electronics, but because that's what they ship out, but it's everything.
Oh, it's crazy how Japan and South Korea have just absolutely embraced capitalism to a degree
to a fault.
To a fault. To a degree that would turn on a 1980s business guy physically.
American capitalism is horrible in the fact that it extends to our healthcare systems too.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that I wouldn't even argue that we're capitalist at this point. We're to the point of pure cronyism. You know what I mean? Because big businesses control the government.
Mm-hmm. Well, insurance companies control the government.
They're the biggest businesses.
The government can't take a shit without having insurance first.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's and that's one of the Yeah, hang on. Let me back up. It blows my mind how different insurances operate for different things. I can get car insurance and it can, it covers me nationwide. There's no state borders, regarding my car insurance, right? And what does my car insurance cover? Well, it can cover a lot of different things. I can basically pick and choose how I want it to operate, and if I want it to be liability only, hey, I get in a car accident and it covers the other person's costs and that's it, and it's super, super cheap, right? I can do that. Or I can get full coverage where, my window gets cracked and it gets replaced, and, I get to choose what kind of coverage I want, and I get to, and then, it pay for that based on the coverage, right? But then health insurance, right? So let me back up a minute. So anyways, no matter how much my insurance covers on my vehicle, if I need new tires, I need to buy those new tires. If I need to fill up,
unless you get tire insurance,
maybe there's that, but
you can get tire insurance if you buy new tires from certain tire places.
There's definitely not. There's definitely no gas insurance.
No,
you're gonna have to pick up your own oil changes, a tie rod, brakes, et cetera, et cetera. Basic maintenance of the vehicle it's on you. Now, what if our health insurance operated like that? What if instead of I go to the doctor and I've got a little tendonitis or something, and it's something that can be taken care of relatively easy. Why can't I figure out, hey, I'll pay cash. We'll figure it out, right?
Like it was before insurance existed.
Yeah, no matter what, no matter if I go in there for sniffles, for a heart attack, or because I was in a car accident and I've got multiple broken bones and impaled things, no matter what, insurance is going to get involved, right? Well, what if we had a system where I could choose that, my insurance only covers me in car accidents, in, these conditions that develop with age, diabetes, cancer, et cetera, et cetera. But hey, that basic maintenance, I get sick and I need some antibiotics. That's on me,
and what you're talking about is basically what Canada has. They have a hybrid system, a hybrid between the single payer and the insurance.
Yeah.
They have to have the insurance for the basics of needing prescriptions and stuff like that. But you're not going to lose your house over a car accident.
Yep. Yeah. That's what I've heard, basically, that Canada's insurance is great for if you've got like a major illness, or you need if you need something routine, it'll get taken care of. You might be on a long waiting list, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, if you've got if you got the sniffles, if you got the flu, you're screwed. Like you're better off going to, they've got these little, private doctors that you go to and you give them cash and they give you a subscription or a prescription to your antibiotics. Because if you try to go through the Canadian system, by the time you can even get an appointment, you're not sick anymore, or you're way sicker, and the problem's way worse.
Yeah, because it's a hybrid public-private system.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be a coverall.
No,
it's supposed to be.
It's similar to how the VA has evolved, but from what I've heard from Canadians, still better run than our crappy VA system. And I'm in the VA system.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And right now the VA is locked down tight with this mess going on. There's nobody in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think any system out there is going to be totally great, but we've definitely messed up our system in multiple ways.
Not with 325 million people in this country.
Oh yeah. And that's, I think when you compare state by state, they could do a much better job.
State by state, because you got
California's needs are much different than Vermont's needs are much different than Minnesota's needs.
Because that's what a state is.
Yeah.
We are literally a country of 50 countries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I understand that like some areas do not have anywhere near the economic opportunities of others. I get the idea of a federal government being able to be like, oh, we need to transfer some, they collect funds from everywhere. And, you know what? This place has a lot of poverty. We're going to pump more money here for this.
The feds are supposed to be the referees.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, the referees. Exactly. Yeah.
Foul.
I understand that Arkansas does not have the same economic opportunities. I understand that rural communities in Arkansas are not going to be able to pull themselves out of poverty. They're going to need some sort of federal assistance to, either have available to have just so people aren't in complete poverty, or opportunities that people can leave and go somewhere where there's better opportunities, something, you know. I'm not suggesting that, you know, oh, if you were born in a poor community, you're screwed, you know.
Well, the biggest problem is our 10,000 plus year old system of monetary gain. You know, money's there's there's always been trading. But then putting value on something without value. The Gene Roddenberry had a pretty good with Star Trek with the no money system, but
Well,
getting there though is the mind warp.
well, there's a couple of things to unpack there. When you say putting value on something that has no value, do you mean like physical currency, paper money?
Well,
Or even like junk
just
bonds.
in Bitcoin, I mean, we're making something out of nothing.
Yeah. Well, okay,
And so if it as long as there's a monetary goal, somebody's gonna want to be on top of that monetary system.
well, I think even if you don't have a monetary system, there's always going to be people that are hyper competitive, right? I mean, somebody's going to want more goats than somebody else. You know, somebody's got to have the most goats in the village, the most wives, you know, whatever. I don't think taking let me back up further. Was something only has value because more than one person agrees that it has value, right? I mean, I've got comic books that, you know, they're only worth, you know, realistically a couple of dollars, but I love the cover and I'm not going to sell it for a couple of dollars, you know? But, you know, so inherent, like money only has value because we all agree that it has value. And even gold really, you know, I mean, yeah, it's useful in things like electronics and whatever.
Gold actually is not rare.
No, it's not. Neither are diamonds.
No.
You know, but it has value. Gold has value not only because it has a purpose, but historically gold has a value because everybody agrees that gold has a value, right? So whether or not we're in a monetary system, that's not going to remove greed. I think you're always going to have greed. You're always going to have hyper competitive people, you know? You're going to have people that even if you have a voluntarily communist system, right, where you've got 50 people living in a village and you all share everything, right, and it's true anarchy or communism, whatever you want to call it, kind of technically those things are both the same. I hope that lights up the comment section. But you're still going to have one guy who's going to be hyper competitive about bringing in more game. He's going to fucking brag and swing his big dick that he got a deer and 12 northerns and this fucking asshole only got 6 hares. You know, I'm feeding more of the village than everybody else. That's going to exist.
Yeah, I guess humans are stupid. Humans are downright stupid.
Humans have emotions and
ego. We're intelligent, but we're dumb as fuck.
Ego is a human emotion, and just like any other human emotion, it can be good and it can be bad, right? Like ego can be a good thing, right? Like it can encourage competitive behavior that brings us amazing things like cell phones, right? Because, you know, Steve Jobs and, you know, what's his name? Bill Gates, they would have never gotten pussy if they didn't invent cooler things on computers, right? If they were computer nerds and they didn't advance the computers, they wouldn't have gotten anywhere. Right? So, like, it's not just money. It's also, you know, definitely getting your dick wet or, you know, whatever your thing is, getting wet. That, you know, people are always going to chase that. There's always going to be hyper competitiveness over not just physical things, But yeah, just sexuality, I think, is the other big driver. Like, man, lawyers working, 80-hour weeks and, making $250,000 and making partner by 30, like they aren't just doing that because they're greedy and they want money. Like, man, they're chasing pussy. They're chasing pussy. I guarantee you, like that's what it is. So yeah, I don't think that removing monetary value from a system is in any way going to remove ego or competitiveness. Now, as far as Roddenberry, you have to remember that they live in a post-scarcity world. You can duplicate anything you want, right? So yeah, like a stack of cash doesn't mean anything. A pile of gold doesn't mean anything if I can put it in the replicator and duplicate and make more of it.
But see, they can't replicate base materials. You can't replicate that's alchemy, and they didn't do alchemy.
Okay, but I can replicate.
You can do the combinations thereof, but not the base.
Okay, so I can't duplicate a gold bar, but I can duplicate a gold ring.
Yeah, because it's a combination of materials.
Okay, well then, so still it's post scarcity. Then I can make as many gold rings as I want, right? I mean, I have one pile of gold. I can design whatever jewelry I want. I can smelt it down to make different jewelry, and I can replicate it forever. And I can make that one bar of gold into endless amounts of gold jewelry. So, right? So, post scarcity. So, I mean,
Well, but besides the fact
my point is just that
space.
you can't compare a capitalist system to a post scarcity world. You know what I mean? Like like it's Jesus in the fish story. You know what I mean? Like if I can just make more fish, it doesn't.
But really, how scarce is something when one person has 2 zillion of something and one person has nothing of the same thing?
No. So wealth isn't scarce. You people create wealth all the time. You just have to create something that other people agree is worth value, and then people use that product. You know what I mean? It's not like wealth is not like a pie that you take a slice of, and this part goes over here and this part goes over here. You know what I mean? Like you're literally baking your own pie. I mean, Jeff Bezos created Amazon, and he's worth several $billion. Right? But he didn't take wealth away from anybody. Right? He didn't take those $2 billion. People gave him that money voluntarily because he offered a service. Books and what the fuck ever else you want delivered to your doors within 2 days. It's a great service. That's why he made $2 billion fucking dollars. Right? So wealth is created. It's not divided. So it's not a pie that you're getting a slice of. You're baking your own pie. Some people are baking better pies than others. That's why I've been sent home for a month. I'm not great at baking pies. So, yeah, like just philosophically, like a different, like.
It's a go on ad nauseum. But
anyways. That's my perspective.
Yeah,
on it.
You don't want to be trapped in my head because I've got realist and futurist fighting in my head. So,
yeah. Sim theory freaks me out. That's for sure. There's this one like quote unquote libertarian from California named Zoltan something. And he considered like I don't know how in the world you can be a futurist and a libertarian at the same time. That was kind of freaking me out altogether because it was like, well, to be a futurist, you sort of inherently have to be a collectivist, don't you? Like I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah, and that's kind of my head. It's like I realize the realisms of situations. And it's that realism that makes me break down during this shit.
Yeah.
But then it's the futurist artist and fighting that too.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's everything in my entire life. I am a walking contradiction.
Oh yeah. I feel you on that one. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm a woman. I have a dick. Damn it.
I don't think I'm as much of a contradiction as you, but I understand that sentiment for sure. You know, yeah, good lover, horrible boyfriend. I don't know. I think I've become better at that. Actually, I'll probably become a better boyfriend. I would hope so. I hope this one sticks around. I like her, but yeah, like great worker, horrible employee. You know, like yeah. Again, light up the comment section. If any of my old employers are listening, go ahead and comment below. But yeah, I don't know what the hell we were talking about.
I don't know. We've chased a lot of rabbits on this one. You
Yeah.
should get a lot of interesting comments on there.
I'm always disappointed how few comments there are. I'm trying to say controversial things even just to light them up a little bit. You know, like.
And for the record, we're sitting 10 feet apart.
yeah. I invited somebody on weeks ago, and they were like, "How are we supposed to do social distancing?" And I was like, "Well, we've got like 40 feet of microphone cord and about 20 feet of headphone cord, so I think we should be able to practice social distancing. We should be okay. If you're gonna go to the store, you can come here, you know." But yeah, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm pretty sure my wife is expecting me home for dinner. So.
All right. Yeah, we got smoked mac and cheese from Main Street Ale House, and I'm sure it's sitting up there getting cold waiting for me. So thanks for coming in. Sure appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll get together soon and jam. We ain't got nothing else going on, huh?
Yeah, and it's like my basement where I jam I gotta clear it out, but if I know somebody's coming over, I can get it ready. It's 24 feet across. So.
as you mentioned before, I have a very small bass amp, so it doesn't take up much space.
Yeah, and I've got PA, so we can plug you direct in.
Right
so.
in. Nice.
I keep meaning to pick up another Sans amp because everyone that I know has crappy bass amps, so they plug direct in.
I actually have a nice bass amp and a crappy bass. I went the opposite road. So, but yeah, I'm going to get another bass eventually. And then I want to strip the frets off that one and make it into a fretless. It needs a new nut on it too. It's got like a crappy plastic nut.
My dad got a decent crappy bass if that makes sense. But he's a luthier too. So So he took that and turned that decent crappy bass into a good crappy bass. So,
nice.
He didn't change the pickups or anything. He could probably use changing pickups too. But but it's not bad. It's a 4-string fretless and long scale. So he's not fighting his scale for string bass. So
yeah, for sure. All right. Well, again, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening.